Coronavirus. Boris Johnson says easing lockdown would throw away effort and sacrifice of British people.
Here's a summary of the article.
The UK is beginning to turn the tide in the fight against the coronavirus, but this is not the time to relax the nationwide lockdown, Boris Johnson has said. Speaking in Downing Street as he returned to lead the government's fight against COVID-19, the Prime Minister said easing off would be to throw away all the effort and the sacrifice of the British people and to risk a second major outbreak of the coronavirus. Mr. Johnson said easing off could lead to a second spike in the outbreak, which would mean a new wave of death and disease and an economic disaster. Responding to Mr. Johnson's Downing Street address, Labour Deputy Leader Angela Rayner said, "The NHS has done tremendously, but the government didn't lock down early enough, didn't provide the PPE and didn't test and trace. The lockdown will dominate Mr. Johnson's in-tray, with demands growing in some quarters for it to be relaxed." While Mr. Johnson made clear that now was not the time to relax the lockdown, he spoke briefly about how the government would approach doing so in the future. Mr. Johnson said such decisions would be taken with the maximum possible transparency, telling Britons, "I want to share all our working and our thinking, my thinking, with you, the British people."
This post received a score of 90,000, with an upvote ratio of 93%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Speaking in Downing Street as he returned to lead the government's fight against COVID-19, the Prime Minister said easing off would be to throw away all the effort and the sacrifice of the British people and to risk a second major outbreak of the coronavirus. He added, "I ask you to contain your impatience, because I believe we are coming now to the end of the first phase of this conflict, and in spite of all the suffering we have so nearly succeeded. If you can keep going in the way you have, if you can help protect the NHS, then I have no doubt we will together beat this." Mr. Johnson said the UK was passing through the peak of the outbreak and coming now to the end of the first phase of this conflict. Mr. Johnson said easing off could lead to a second spike in the outbreak, which would mean a new wave of death and disease and an economic disaster.
That is surprisingly focused and level-headed messaging from number 10. The disease killed his pretending.
So when is Trump getting busy turn at the disease?
Trump won't get serious until he gets sick himself. It is the only reason Bojo is now taking it seriously.
If Trump got it, he would just say it's an assassination attempt by the Democrats and we'd have to put up with more crazy conspiracy crap. I can't see even a terrible disease like this making him thoughtful in any way.
Bruh, if Trump got it he'd fucking die. The bloke's barely alive as it is. Edit, after almost 150 upvotes, I am not wishing death on Trump. Just saying I don't think he'd survive it.
Yeah, knowing his age, his diet, and his sheer stubbornness when being told to do anything, I wouldn't say his chances are good.
I guess even Bojo can't get a haircut while in isolation. Fun fact, here in Italy our president scheduled a speech during the lockdown, but instead of uploading the correct video clip they uploaded one where he talks with the cameraman, and shortly after he starts speaking his cameraman tells him to adjust his hair and he replies, "I can't go to the barber either." Edit, here's the video with English subtitles.
Haven't been keeping track of Italian politics, so this is the first time I see him. He's got a bit of a papal quality to him. Law.
I like him, he feels like a good person rather than a typical politician in a suit, and he's gentle. He's pretty chill overall.
I mean, Italy is a parliamentary republic, so the president is barely more than a figurehead.
Seems like a good system. Who doesn't like a good kind figurehead? Maybe Carter would have been considered a better president if he were just a figurehead.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.